Isha Chatterjee, Secretary of the Ministry of Environment and Forests, and Mr. Rajiv Gauba, who is in charge of environmental clearances, appraisal and clearances at the ministry. I'd like to thank both of you for coming. Just to give you a very brief background of what we are doing and a very brief idea of what we heard yesterday and also the purpose of our work here.
Follow right now is that I know all of you have and want to talk about your experiences, but what I'm doing right now is to call few people first and request them to actually summarize what happened yesterday and also talk about their experiences. So let me start by calling Ravi, and Ravi, if you could summarize in 3 to 5 minutes the issues, and then I will invite other people.
Do I have a mic or?
Yeah.
We have mics.
Yeah.
We have mics. We are better organized today than yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, take it.
Well, to coming to the point, see, there were concerns expressed mostly to do with consent of people. It's the issue is basic respect to people. So, I mean, if I respect you, if I come to your house, then I kind of knock and request, and then I come home. But here, what yesterday, I mean, I'm just really summing up very fast, is that everywhere in the country today you find that the conflict is to do with resource and consent of people. So there were, at the larger level, there were issues about how this whole process of development, etc. Okay, here we will not deal with this process of development or idea of development, but procedures of taking consent from people, where yesterday most of the experiences have been very bitter, where people are confused whether, why if you come to the people at a public hearing and people say no, but still the project comes through. That is one major point that everyone kind of had. Second was, that's the basic point, that when people do not want it there, why are you pushing it? So, I mean, I'll allow the others to speak about, but there are various other issues that have come, essentially all to do with this thing about how they live there, how, say, the EIAs are fraudulent, when there is a village, when there is a school, when there is a river, stream, all these are kind of shown as away from the place where they actually are. So that's the major thing, the whole process of EIA, sanctions, how the FAC and EAC can go through so many projects in such a short time and evaluate the pros and cons of each project before they are given permission. So there were some very good suggestions from people across the country on how this should be pushed through, or what is the positive suggestion, how do we work on this. So free and prior informed consent was another major thing. At the international level, India is a signatory where when it comes to indigenous people, you're supposed to initially inform them, give them time to understand, and then take an informed decision. See, the whole issue is informed decision. But when things are pushed through, people don't understand. Like yesterday, some friends showed big volumes of EIAs and saying, okay, all this data is there, but how do people understand this? And what's the time? And why should police be there? Ultimately, okay, this is to do with a project proponent coming in, giving a point of view that I'll do this in this area. There's the statutory authorities who are supposed to be the impartial, whatever, I mean, they're supposed to just forward what has happened in this public hearing onto the top. But then we see that there is a very conscious, like say in our Andhra thing, where the East Coast Power or the Nagarjuna construction, it's a wetland. Everyone can know that it's a wetland. But when the whole report comes out as it's not a wetland. So I'll end it here. These are the major issues. Thank you.
I am from Orissa, sir. We have lots of mines and minerals, and lots of sponge iron factories, and cement factories. Now, almost every month or almost every week we have public hearings. And in the public hearings now, such a war type of situation is being created. So one side, all the corporates, the companies, they bring the people, they hire the people from other villages and they bring to the tent where the company or the corporates they have made. And they do not allow the real affected people to present their views, whether they want or not. But the meeting is such a way it is organized between the officers, local officers, district officials, and the company that the non-affected people, they get the chance to speak, and they tell that we will have better job opportunities, and we'll get our economic life will be changed. So such a very colorful way they speak, and that is accepted. But thousands of people, and also they are not allowed. First of all, there are police all around with guns and lathis, and they do not allow the really affected people to get inside the tent. And so this is one part. So really the affected people's voice is not being heard. This is one thing. And that's what it is not a public hearing, it becomes the police hearing. So that sentence has come. Then secondly, some of the people, when they raise the voices, then they are booked under different, the criminal procedure courts and all. And that is another. Then also many people are booked, those who raise against the displacement issues, environment issues, under the present, the sensitive things is going on, that is Naxalism. So those who oppose this type of development process, so-called development process, then they are booked in Naxalites, as Naxalites. So this way, and so many petitions, so many democratic ways they go to the officials in the state level, in the district level, but these are not heard by these officials. So really, all the areas, like in my experience in Orissa, in Jharkhand, in Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, all these areas, totally people are in turmoil. Farmers, the Adivasis, the women, children, so many are in turmoil. So this is how the situation is.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicholas. Devi?
I'll just go through some points very quickly. And these are sort of structural and systemic things. See, first of all, the role of EI consultants is highly questionable. And everybody feels that the moment a project proponent is having a consultant, the consultant's job is not to do an honest EI, his job is to get the environment to the hook of approach. And consultants are never held responsible, even if they are found to have given false data or misleading data. They never seem to get penalized. The public hearing process has been elaborated on, so I don't want to repeat it. But there are flaws with the police participation, the role of our corporate sector, hire people to attend public hearings and don't let local people speak. That's happening time and again all over the country. The third thing is the report of the public hearing. The local population may have opposed the project tooth and nail, but the report of the collector to the MOEF which says 150 people participated, everybody wanted the project. And nobody, I think, in the ministry ever looks at the video recording or looks at what has actually happened based on the live recording of the public event. And for the EAC to approve 40 projects a day means that there is actually no time to even look at even the minutes of the public hearing, let alone the video recording. That also needs to be looked at. The fourth issue is what is the responsibility and the accountability of the Environmental Appraisal Committee members. My experience on the committee has been that most of my colleagues didn't even open the reports. They haven't even read them before they come to the meeting. They look at the PowerPoint presentations and then take a decision. I think there's something very seriously wrong with that whole process. And NGOs and citizens who ask for meetings with the EAC and an opportunity to present their case are invariably said not possible. I think that's actually a very fundamental issue. Why should people not be allowed to meet the EAC? The role of MOEF is also being increasingly questioned. Is their job to protect the environment, or is their job to license the destruction of environment? I mean, which way is the ministry going? It's a huge question mark in people's minds. Post-project monitoring, we've been talking about it for years. There is absolutely no improvement in the situation. And nobody has access to the project monitoring reports, data that has been put up, just not available either on the ministry website or the state government website anywhere else. And last 2 points, cumulative impact assessments are a must. We have to get that ball rolling. Impact of existing projects and future projects and projects in the pipeline, this should all be assessed. And last point, carrying capacity issues also need to get addressed.
In our state, as of 2009-2010, there is coal mining, over 57 lakh million metric ton has been produced. And we have tried to investigate this, and we have found out that not a single lease has been granted for coal mining in our state. There has been no environmental clearance, no forest clearance, but this has been going on for 30 years now. So we are quite at a loss to understand how your ministry and all has not done anything about it.
I think the big questions raised about forest clearances are, firstly, what are the criteria used for granting clearances? It seems the only thing which is considered is the number of trees or maybe a bit of wildlife. But the fact is that large, practically most of the forest areas in the country are used by people, are inhabited by people. There are people whose rights are yet to be recognized. There is the Forest Rights Act, which makes it illegal actually now to remove anyone or displace anyone until their rights have been recognized, until the process has been completed, and as per the ministry's own order, till they have given their informed consent to diversion of the land. But in practice, this has just not been done. The rate at which we just monitored in the last 2 months, something like more than 4,000 hectares have been cleared, and there is not a mention of forest rights in that. And in general, in any case, there is just no, unlike environmental clearances where there are at least, there is at least the provision of a public hearing. In the case of forest clearances, there is no public process at all. That is one huge issue. So nobody knows on what grounds or what basis a handful of people sitting in Delhi decide and hand over very often land which actually doesn't even belong to the government. Look at large chunks of the northeast where the lands are the customary community lands. They have just been recorded on paper as unclassed state forest through some historical accident. And simply because that word forest has been used, now it's people sitting in Delhi who decide and divert that land without necessarily even asking the people who will be impacted. And I think the last question was that in the absence of any consideration and recognition of the rights of local people, their livelihood dependence on forests, etc., and also all these legal ambiguities about ownership, tenure, whose land it is, whose forest it is, how is it that the forest departments collect net present value for forests which belong to somebody else? That's one issue. The second is this assumption related to compensatory afforestation, that you plant on some other land and you will replace what is lost. That, leaving aside the shortcomings in that whole concept, the fact is, which is this land on which this compensatory afforestation is being done? The ministry has made guidelines now which requires that, excepting in the case of public central government projects, this should ideally be non-forest land. And then this land must be notified as protected or reserve forest and mutated in the name of the forest department, and so it actually becomes a huge land grab issue. Because which is this other land? This other land is also common land. So what we are finding is grazing lands, pasture lands, revenue lands, they are all being converted. When there is so much degraded forest already there, why can't, if this compensatory reforestation has to continue, I think it needs to be reviewed seriously. Why now, ask for more land to be allocated?
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, I would like to ask you only one question. After establishment of the project, is there any studies are going on effects of the project after the establishment? Because I saw the project NTPC run at Parwada, 1000 megawatt. The people before the project, they are living happily with abundance of drinking water. Now every day they are struggling for drinking water and also the health hazards. That is my question.
Thank you.
I just wanted to let you know some of the procedures going on in my state called the Outer House of the Nation, Arunachal Pradesh. Right now, what the process the government is taking is they first take money from the power proponents, they receive money in the term of upfront money, and then everything follows later on. So no PIC is being done in any part of the villages, and the most salient part is about afforestation, wherein the government says that the area submerged and the choice of the area to be submerged has to be afforested. And in that way, as our state doesn't have any land laws or any forest areas as of now on records that much, but every forest is owned by the clans, not even community or the individuals in Arunachal Pradesh. So here we lose so much of land. First, the submerged area is lost. Second, the choice of the area has to be lost. Again, third, there is one more green belt which covers 1 kilometer above the submergence area. So how do we go about it? We don't like to lose so much of land. That's one thing. And then I just want to brief that as one of the friends was saying, like police are outnumbering the public hearings. To be like in the lower Siam, 2,700 megawatt, there's one village, Bongi. It has only 300 population, but to conduct a public hearing, 3,000 police comes. That's a fact. And then what I suggest is, EIA should be prepared by a neutral agency and not funded by the project proponent. And then, like we are being, of lately, we are being branded as anti-nationals when we raise our voice for our rights. And then, they should, like ESC should comprise of regional experts as well, at least in the ESC. And then EIA should be monitored after the project is constructed also. And one more thing, a very important thing which I feel is the NPV of the rate should be uniform in all over India. Like right now, what the government is offering to us is 1.5 lakhs per hectare of forest, per hectare of land, 1,50,000. It's on records. So what I feel is it has to be uniform in all these states, and then there has to be a free and fair informed consent even before the plan is talked out. That's it.
छत्तीसगढ़ का जो अनुभव है, पर्यावरण के लिए जो जन सुनवाई लोक सुनवाई होती है, वो उद्योगों के 45 दिन के आवेदन के 45 दिन के भीतर में लोक सुनवाई नहीं होता, वो 6 महीना 8 महीना 1 साल तक होता है। दूसरी बात, TOR जब जारी होता है जिस दिनांक को, उसके पहले ही कंसल्टेंट मतलब परियोजना का जो कंसल्टेंट होता है वो अपनी EIA रिपोर्ट तैयार कर लेता है और उसमें बाकायदा ये लिखा होता है कि उसकी तारीख रहती है, वो TOR जारी होने के पहले ही वो 10 किलोमीटर के रेडियस में जो सामाजिक अध्ययन है पर्यावरण का वो कर लेता है। हमारे छत्तीसगढ़ में परियोजना के पास जमीन नहीं होता, पानी का कोई अनुबंध नहीं होता, कच्चा माल जैसे कोयला है उसका कोई एग्रीमेंट नहीं होता, उसके बावजूद भी उसके लिए लोक सुनवाई वहां का डीएम करता है। तीसरी बात हमारे जो जानकारी में है, लोक सुनवाई के पूर्व टीओआर का उस ईआईए रिपोर्ट में शामिल किया है नहीं किया है, जिला प्रशासन या पर्यावरण विभाग उसकी जांच नहीं करता। जिस तरह से कंसल्टेंट अपनी रिपोर्ट में बताता है कि वहां का जो पर्यावरणीय अध्ययन करके, तो हमारा ये कहना है कि जिले में भी जो वन फॉरेस्ट विभाग है, पर्यावरण विभाग है, जल संसाधन है, पीएचई जो अंडरग्राउंड वाटर की पूरी स्थिति बताए, ये तमाम रिपोर्ट भी जिला प्रशासन का और विभागों का लगना चाहिए। एक चीज और ध्यान देने की बात है, माइनिंग प्रोजेक्ट और पावर प्रोजेक्ट के लिए हमारे छत्तीसगढ़ में जो वन भूमि का जो गैर वनीकरण के लिए जो डाइवर्ट किया जाता है, हमारे छत्तीसगढ़ के जो वन विभाग है उस परियोजना के लिए जो जमीन फॉरेस्ट की जा रही है, दूसरे जिले में जो वन विभाग है वो उसको क्लियरेंस देता है कि हमारा जो जंगल है, जो उजड़ा हुआ जंगल है, हम उसमें इनके वनीकरण के लिए हम अनुमति देते हैं। तो हमारा कहना है मतलब जब फिर वैसे तो फिर जंगल का जो परसेंटेज है भारत में वो तो कम होता जाएगा, फिर रेवेन्यू लैंड मिलना चाहिए। अगर फॉरेस्ट का लैंड अगर माइनिंग प्रोजेक्ट या पावर प्रोजेक्ट के लिए जा रहा है तो रेवेन्यू लैंड से उतना उसको लेकर के फिलअप किया जा सकता है, उसकी पूर्ति की जा सकती है। परंतु हमारे छत्तीसगढ़ में वन विभाग फॉरेस्ट भूमि में ही वनीकरण के लिए अनुमति देते हैं और क्लियरेंस दे रहे हैं परियोजनाओं को, ये गलत है। एक चीज और हमने पर्यावरण क्लियरेंस के लिए देखा है कि छत्तीसगढ़ सरकार परियोजनाओं को, यानी उसके लिए जो लोक सुनवाई जिलों में होती है उसके पूर्व अपनी जांच रिपोर्ट प्रस्तुत नहीं करता, और छत्तीसगढ़ में इतने पावर प्रोजेक्ट और माइनिंग प्रोजेक्ट पहले से चल रहे हैं और उसको भी अभी मंजूरी दिया जा रहा है। उसके लिए न तो प्रदूषण मापक यंत्र या जो मॉनिटरिंग स्टेशन नहीं है छत्तीसगढ़ में, हमारे रायगढ़ जिले का भी अनुभव और कहीं जगह नहीं है। एक और बातें हैं कि छत्तीसगढ़ के नदियों से जो पावर प्रोजेक्ट को पानी देने का जो अनुबंध हो रहा है वो नदियों की क्षमता से कहीं अधिक अनुबंध हो रहा है। छत्तीसगढ़ की तमाम छोटी बड़ी नदियां महानदी में मिलती हैं, जो कि उड़ीसा में हीराकुद डैम जो सरकार का सिंचाई का बड़ा बहुउद्देशीय बांध है, जितने पावर प्रोजेक्ट और माइनिंग प्रोजेक्ट का राख मलबा फ्लाई एश छोटी नदियों से बहकर महानदी में आती हैं और वो हीराकुद डैम में जमा हो रहा है गाद या मलबे के रूप में। इस पर भी उस फ्लाई एश या उस मलबा का जो राख है उसके भी डिस्पोजल के लिए, उसका निस्तारण के लिए कंपनियों के पास और हमारी सरकार के पास कोई व्यवस्था नहीं है। धन्यवाद।
About Goa, 199 the public hearings have held, and there are something which is called, I can cite that there are 10 ECs which are granted in only one date. One of the miners has carried 10 ECs only one day, and I can quote also if you want. The next thing is that all the public hearings in Goa are becoming only the farce, based on the EIs which are fraud and fraudulent and having a concealed information. Everything is going on. Appraisal, I had made an application to the appraisal committee to review the consent which was given or EC appraised report submitted to the ministry, but they did not even comply to this. Next thing is that very interestingly, in the ECs, the clearance are given and the EI is prepared for the mining project, whereas in the EC, in your ECs, you are allowing the same project proponent to dump his waste rejection 1 or 2 kilometers away from the leases, wherein no EI has been covered up and no AI has been prepared for these projects. And these are the various cases. Other important aspect is that for Goa, as I mentioned yesterday in my presentations, Goa is a very sensitive area which has to be taken into consideration by the Ministry of Environment and Forest, because It has got 95, let me tell you, 95.41% of the total geographical area is the catchment area of all the water bodies. So that is a pathetic situation. If ECs are granted, good that 105 mines are operating. If all the 199 mines comes under operations, Goa will be totally doomed and it will be nowhere. So EC should look into very comprehensive manner whether the feasibility and the carrying capacity of the state is there. And Goa is a very classic example. Another example I would give in the pig iron plant, which is a very huge, is from pig iron plant which has a producing capacity of 9 lakhs million tons. 9 lakhs, 9 million tons. 9 million tons. The earlier plant was granted 5 million tons excess of production from 292 metric tons per year. The capacity was increased to 5 metric tons in that area, and from 2 kilometers distance, the EC was granted to have 9 metric tons of pig iron plant production belonging to same company without looking into the detailed aspect of EIS. And they are so fraud. I always cross-check the core zone of this one is a buffer zone of some other area, and that buffer zone also becomes a core zone of some area, and then I cross-check everything, and it is absolutely mess.
Thank you.
Absolutely mess.